Just when fans had finally accepted the silence, when the heartbreak of Jin's sudden disappearance from the Coldplay concert had settled into a tender ache, another shockwave hit. He wasn't retreating. He was preparing to take flight. Early Friday morning, a flood of blurry airport photos surfaced. Jin BTS, masked and dressed in sleek black, was spotted arriving at Incheon International Airport under unusually tight security. No press release, no official schedule, but the flurry of activity around the terminal made it clear this wasn't a routine movement. This was something bigger. Where was he going? As speculation exploded online, Japanese media outlets quietly confirmed the news before HYB did. Jin was heading to Tokyo to attend and possibly perform as a special guest at one of Japan's largest international music festivals. And not just any festival. Insiders claimed it would be Summer Soundwave, an elite stage that has previously hosted legends like Utada Hikaru, Perfume, and even overseas icons like Ed Sheeran. That single piece of information detonated across social media. Jin, who had vanished after Coldplay's concert, was now re-emerging in Japan? And not just as an attendee, but as a featured guest. The whiplash was overwhelming. Fans, still processing his brief reunion with Coldplay, now had to come to terms with an entirely new narrative. Jin wasn't disappearing. He was just transitioning from a private goodbye to a global reintroduction. But how? Wasn't he still under military enlistment? That's when the rumors turned into full-blown headlines. Korean insiders reported that Jin was granted an extended cultural permit, a temporary but lawful arrangement allowing active-duty enlistees to participate in high-profile cultural exports deemed beneficial to Korea's soft power image, which meant one thing: this wasn't just a trip. This was a mission. Jin was flying to Japan not as a free civilian, but as a cultural envoy, an artist trusted enough to represent his country, even while serving it. What stunned fans most, however, wasn't just the news of his travel. It was how fast it happened. Less than 48 hours after his emotional Coldplay performance, Jin had vanished from the public eye, only to resurface again, in transit, guarded, focused, and silent. But the silence wasn't empty this time. It was loaded with tension. Would he sing again? Would Japan be treated to a second rendition of The Astronaut? Would there be another moment, another glimpse into the soul of an artist who refuses to fade away, no matter how many times he steps into shadow, as fans scrambled to book flights to Tokyo and hashtags like #Jin in Japan and #astronaut return shot to the top of Korean and Japanese Twitter. HYB finally broke its silence to a simple statement: Kim Seokjin is currently en route to participate in a cultural music event overseas. We thank fans for their patience and continued support. No mention of Coldplay. No confirmation of Summer Soundwave. Just enough ambiguity to protect Jin's path, but not enough to calm the storm. Media helicopters captured aerial shots of Jin boarding a private charter jet from a restricted runway, face obscured, head slightly bowed. But even in that obscured silhouette, fans could feel it. He wasn't running. He was carrying something, some kind of promise, some kind of purpose. By the time the plane touched down in Haneda Airport, Tokyo was already in uproar. Paparazzi swarmed the terminal, but Jin was quickly moved through a side exit. Japanese media confirmed that rehearsal slots had been reserved under a pseudonym, SJIN Main Stage A. The initials were unmistakable. Rehearsal security was described as presidential. No outside crew allowed. Blackout protocols engaged. The only hint of his involvement came from a single insider tweet, an audio tech member who wrote, "His voice during soundcheck gave me goosebumps. It's not just a song, it's a message." What kind of message? Fans began speculating wildly. Was this concert appearance a way for Jin to continue what he started with Coldplay, a series of one-time, emotionally potent appearances meant to act as beacons during his military absence? Was this HYB's new strategy for maintaining BTS's global presence during a hiatus? Or was this something more personal? One theory that gained traction online suggested Jin was fulfilling promises he made to fellow artists and international collaborators before enlisting, moments of creative intimacy and support he had quietly pledged to honor, no matter the obstacles. If true, it painted Jin not as an entertainer chasing headlines, but as a man keeping his word under impossible circumstances. And that's what made this so gripping. Jin wasn't just returning. He was evolving, not in loud comebacks or flashy album drops, but in rare, intimate, soul-bearing performances. In fleeting yet unforgettable gestures that said, "I'm still here, but only for a moment. Look closely." The emotional weight was in the brevity, and in Japan, fans were ready. The upcoming concert, already sold out before Jin's involvement was confirmed, was now unofficially dubbed the Return of the Astronaut. Japanese armies launched coordinated lightstick projects, relearned the fan chants for his song, and began distributing custom banners reading, "Even across the sea, your light reaches us." The power of Jin's presence had transcended borders once again, not through media campaigns, but through human emotion. And while HYB remains cautious, issuing no further statements, armies across the globe know this much is true. This isn't a comeback tour. This is a love letter written across skies, time zones, and silence. And Jin, our astronaut, is still guiding us home. Tokyo Dome was already vibrating before the lights even dimmed. The venue, with its vaulted ceiling and iconic acoustics, had hosted legends. But tonight felt different. The air was charged not with just anticipation, but uncertainty. No posters, no schedule, no formal announcement had confirmed Jin's presence. And yet, 55,000 people sat on edge, holding their breath, clutching handmade signs that read, "Even just one more song and astronaut. Guide us again." The first two acts closed. Intermission hit. The stage went black. Then a single spotlight, a haunting melody, filled the space. The instrumental of The Astronaut, slightly altered, deeper, more orchestral, began echoing through the dome. The crowd stirred. Some screamed. Others froze. But it wasn't until the center platform began to rise, and that unmistakable silhouette appeared, slim, poised, head bowed, that the dam broke. He was there. Jin BTS, dressed in a white long-line coat embroidered with constellations, emerged alone, microphone already in hand. The lights above formed a galaxy. The audience screamed, cried, chanted his name in every accent, every pitch. Jin, Jin, Jin. And still, he said nothing. He waited. Let the silence breathe. Let the tears flow. And then he began to sing, but not the original version. This was The Astronaut, Tokyo Requiem Edition, a rearranged version of the song built for this exact moment. The tempo slower, the strings heavier, his voice raw, honest, a touch shakier than usual, but deeper, more grounded, like every word was being pulled from somewhere far inside him. And when he reached the second chorus, something no one expected happened. The screen behind him lit up, not with visuals, but with messages, handwritten letters, snippets from fan letters sent to him after the Coldplay performance. Translated into Korean, English, and Japanese. You made the stars feel reachable again. This isn't just music, it's our way back to you. We waited. We're still waiting. Fans screamed. Sobs could be heard echoing through the upper decks. Some dropped to their knees. Others just stood in stunned silence. And Jin, he kept singing, eyes scanning the messages behind him, lips trembling on the final line. You and I were not alone. When the last note fell away, the stadium didn't erupt. IT fell silent, a reverent, sacred kind of quiet. Jin stood still, then stepped forward. No translator, no cue card, just his voice. I didn't come here for a concert. I came here because I missed you. The crowd broke, cries of Sarangi. Jin, ando arigato. Thank you, rose from every direction. He smiled softly, then continued. I can't stay long, but I needed you to know, Coldplay wasn't the end. It was a beginning, a reminder that music finds us, even when the world says wait. And then, another surprise, he turned toward the wing of the stage, nodded, and out stepped Chris Martin. The crowd went berserk. Together, they embraced, not for the cameras, not for performance, but for something else. For brotherhood, for gratitude. They didn't speak much. They didn't need to. Chris simply strummed the first chords of Fix You. And Jin, quietly, joined in on the chorus. The two voices, one global rock, the other K-pop warmth, blended in a way that made time feel irrelevant. And no one had their phones up. Even security guards were seen wiping their eyes. And then it ended. And encore. No encore was needed. Jin bowed low, deeper than any idol ever bows. He stayed there for almost 10 seconds. As if apologizing. As if thanking. As if saying goodbye and see you soon. Then he walked off. The lights rose. The show continued. Other artists came on. But no one could top the moment that had just occurred. Backstage footage later showed Jin disappearing into a private van, eyes red but smiling. He looked tired, but fulfilled. He was flown out of Japan within hours. escorted under diplomatic-level clearance back to Korea. HYB issued a follow-up statement that simply said, "We thank the Japanese organizers, Coldplay, and all those who made this cultural collaboration possible." Mr. Kim Seokjin has now returned to complete his service. And that was IT. And press junkets.